Hello guys, this is George from Week Time Mechanic. Today we have a 2007 Toyota Highlander 3.3 V6. This engine has VVT for the intake on this forward side. We had a code for correlation between cam and crank. So walk through. We're going to give a walkthrough into this vehicle relatively quick. So, customer they replace the solenoids, the actuator, the oil passages to the head for the VVT to activate. Then change the cam sensors, thinking that it was a faulty sensor, and then they changed the crank sensor as well. They were kind of trying to avoid to get to this point to see if they can fix it that way. But the problem with this car, the gear, the VVT gear, we were watching it with the scanner, moving back and forth, and it was kind of a jittery. I mean, it was taking sometimes it moved quick, sometimes it will jitter and get to position what it need to be. So that was giving the computer a correlation problem. You got a misfire and some other drivability issues. So to do this job is quite involved. I mean, we're going to do the timing belt and water pump at the same time because you had to lose the cam. I put it back that way you get a point of reference. The gear goes here. I'm going to show you the cam here in a bit. So you pull that off, and it's not a lot of information on these engines. Let me show you here. Here you got the cam. This is the new phaser or VVT actuator, you want to call it. It goes on this side of the cam. You got a 46 millimeter nut that is counterclockwise. Clockwise to loose, so it'll be reverse from normal stuff. Or you can have a socket. I think it's an inch and 13/16 to loose it up. Put some wood on your vise. This thing is really tight. I put the torque wrench in it to find out because it's not torque specs that I can find, and it was about 100 foot-pounds before it moved. So what you do, you loose it up like I tell you. It looses the other way, and this thing comes relatively easy. When they get a bit of gunk, they're hard to get out. But let me show you. Make sure you put some lubricant in it before you put it back on the gear and on the cam. Blow your holes for the race here, and let me show you here on the sprocket. Okay, so here, that's the visual on the back of this. There's a video of some guys overseas rebuilding this, but more or less they pull it apart to clean it. I don't see how that's going to make a difference, besides the oil's really gunky. But as much job it takes to pull this thing apart, I don't want to find out that cleaning it is going to work. So you got this weird, they're not Torx bit, they're 5-point. They kind of look like Torx bit, but they're different. So you're going to loosen these bolts out. If you want to do that, right? So I'll show you how this VVT setup works, more or less. So you got these two metal shims. Sometimes they come apart. You can do it this way. I do not recommend, just because I tell you it's such amount of work to get to this point that you want to find out otherwise. This thing has a pin on the back that it will not let me move it if I don't partially disassemble it. So what happens on this is, the computer will command oil pressure to the solenoids, and this will be moving back and forth to adjust the timing on the intake, and that'll give you more power. This little metal plastic cushings, they'll keep it from having metal to metal, and they got these metal springs behind them. So what these people did is taking it apart. You're gonna take it apart. You had to make sure that if some of these pieces fall off, you're pretty much done. So I take it apart. See those plastic pieces? They got a metal spring that retains them in place. I tell you, this is a little bit involved. Then you got this pin that I'm pretty sure oil pressure activates it, and that's what it makes this thing able to move. Right. So actually, when we were checking the codes, this thing was moving slowly. So I'm thinking, it was binding, and I can see. I don't know. You can see it right there. You can see a little bit of, kind of a groove from that pin walking on it. So that could be the problem. But at this point is uncertain if that was the problem. So don't waste your time trying to rebuild these things unless you on your country or whatever you're watching you don't have these parts available. I had to get this from Toyota, and it was relatively expensive. It was like $200. So it's quite involved. To put that back on, let me walk you back to that stuff again. Let me put this back on. Let me tell you, it'll only go in one spot, okay? Make sure that it's fully seated. That compressor is the loudest compressor I ever heard in my life. So you got this nut, tighten them up, roll it by hand, and put about 100 foot-pounds in it. Make sure it doesn't spin, and make sure you protect your can with wood. Some people put racks, but the racks, I don't think they're enough cushion for this. So tighten them up, throw about 100 foot-pounds, and see how it goes. Put it all back together. Make sure you change your oil. Make sure you put synthetic oil on this thing, and check your parameters and everything, and see if this thing is moving properly. There's some people that put some tape in here and put 2 holes in it, and they can actuate this with air pressure. This part is brand new, so it shouldn't have a problem. So, well, thank you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video. Bye.